we're starting. So before we get started, folks, I just want to say that the material shared today is trademarked and copyrighted. So reproduction and distribution requires prior written permission. And I appreciate everybody adhering to that. Thank you very much. So today we're going to be looking at Money Mountain. Money Mountain is a mindset mastery workshop. It's something I've delivered in other contexts, but I'm providing a condensed version today on our Agents Unleashed group coaching call. Now, I'd like for this to be dynamic and interactive. So if you'd like to interrupt me, if you want a point clarified or anything, feel free to interrupt. Zoom is kind of impersonal to begin with, so I really want to foster that connection, collaboration, and communication. Does that sound fair, everybody? You can also signal your yes by a raised hand. I will see it out of the corner of my eye. All right, thumbs up. That works too. Thank you. Great. Let's go to the next slide. So Money Mountain is based on the performance trifecta. So at the GT Sales Academy, we look at three things, or the trifecta of performance. So a trifecta, for those of you who know horse racing, is when you have a perfect sequence of first, second, and third place. So each piece has to be done in sequence correctly, and they work synergistically to contribute to your success. So today we're going to be looking at the mindset piece, which is foundational. And that's why we're looking at Money Mountain. So first, I want you to share or ask yourselves at a minimum, why are you here today? And what do you hope to get out of this mini workshop? Because that's going to frame your thinking to get the most out of this. There's a reason why you're here and not doing something else. Time is valuable and you can't get it back, so you're choosing to invest it here. The question is why? But first, I want to commend you and say congratulations, because there's three types of people in this world. Those that make things happen, and that's what we're doing today, right? We're investing in ourselves, we're showing up for ourselves. Those that watch things happen, which people might watch this afterwards on the mastermind group, and those that wondered what happened. And those are the people that aren't engaging in any of this or showing up for themselves in their own personal development to achieve their goals and their dreams and their visions. So I'd like you to commend yourselves for showing up here today. Now, the question we really have to ask ourselves is, why do we get out of the bed in the morning? Why do we do what we do? Why do we persevere and push through the challenges that we face and the hardships? And if you're not finding any hardships and life is easy, I'm saying you're not pushing yourself hard enough. So what makes you push on through? And what do you value more than you? What's your why? The purpose of life is the life of purpose, according to Robin Sharma, and I'd have to agree with him. So I'd like to start out by sharing who I am. So I'm going to put myself on the hot seat a little bit. And I'm not going to share all this because I'm trying to, put myself on a pedestal or brag about my achievements, but rather for you to understand why I'm sitting here sharing this, how I came to the conclusions I came to, and how I changed my life and created the Money Mountain program. So for starters, I've always been an entrepreneur and a corporate person. And it comes naturally to me because my dad's side of the family is very entrepreneurial and my mom's side of the family is very corporate. Now, at a young age, that entrepreneurship in me wanted me to do things and build things and achieve and create. But I started out working in a family business. Has anybody worked for family here? By a show of hands, by chance? No? Okay, I'm not seeing any raised hands. However, what I can tell you is it's not fun. So working for family, especially as a teenager, can be very difficult. And, I respect my dad a lot now, but at the time I thought he was the worst boss in the world. But I realized that I learned a lot from him. And the point of all this is knowing who you're listening to and why you're listening to them. And that's why I'm sharing my story. So I decided not to work for my father. So I opened several businesses, lawn cutting. I was recruiting people from high school, other teenagers. And I didn't realize at the time that my business was fundamentally flawed because I was hiring the most unreliable people there were at the time, which is teenagers. So needless to say, that turned out to be a big challenge. Moving on into my 20s, I went to university. I did several degrees. I did my MBA. I worked through the course of that. And I also worked for Great-West Life. Now, that was my first corporate job. And I was working in investments, albeit insurance investments, during 9/11. So 9/11 was the most difficult time to be in the investment business. But nonetheless, we achieved 3 times our regional objective in terms of sales, despite the environment with 9/11 and the mindset that people had at the time. So we really had to manage mindset at that point in time. But the interesting thing is I wasn't managing my own mindset yet. And I didn't realize that. So fast forward, I did many other things. I worked for Johnson & Johnson. I launched auto body shops. I ended up getting real estate license, flipped homes, etc. But my success was up and down, up and down, up and down because I kept achieving success, but then I kept undermining myself because I was working on all the intellectual stuff, all the experience, all the knowledge, but none of the emotional or the EQ stuff. In fact, one friend of mine even said to me, George, you have all the education in the world, but you're not educating your emotional self. And I think when I hit my 40s and I had a bit of a midlife crisis, that's when I realized, you know what? I got to get this right. I got to get my mindset right, because if not, I'm going to keep doing this silly roller coaster thing that's not helping me climb my money mountain. So fast forward to today, it made a big difference. My life has shifted and I'm much happier with the trajectory and my climbing my money mountain. So there's many businesses I'm involved in, but the main thing that I'm really doing now and I love doing is sales training and speaking. So thank you for that opportunity today. And that falls under GT Sales Academy. But the key takeaway for yourselves is, are you self-sabotaging like I was? And if so, the key is in you, and hopefully Money Mountain helps you unlock that so that you don't self-sabotage anymore. Now, is it okay if I go on by a show of hands? Do you feel comfortable listening to me and that we go on and that I can bring some value to you? Awesome. Thank you, Norm. Appreciate that. Welcome. Welcome those of you joining us. So, why invest the next 30 minutes in your mindset? So, your mindset is the foundation of your success. It took a long time for me to realize this, because your success to be consistent, you need a consistently success-oriented mindset. So, for example, today, I could have woke up this morning and said, oh my gosh, I'm so tired. I don't think 3 coffees are going to cut it. I worked all weekend, both mentally and physically. Or I could wake up and say, woo-hoo! I get to present today, touch some people's lives, influence my colleagues for the better, and share my experience and my knowledge. Same George, I show up 2 different ways. So mindset is the foundation for your success. It's about the I can, I will, I must, do, for, because of. So it frames the story of your life, okay? I really think of life like a movie. I like movies, and we are the actors in our own movie, and our mindset writes the script. Now the question is, are you going to edit that script and make it the way you want, or are you just going to let it produce itself? It also affects your motivation and drive. So, for example, Norm shared with us earlier that he went door knocking after coming back from vacation and jet lag and everything else, because he decided to have the right mindset and be motivated, and he showed up for himself and for success. The other piece is you can't outperform your own self-image. So if you don't see yourself as somebody who does the grind, gets up, knocks on the doors, shows up for the group coaching call, invests the time in bettering oneself, then you won't do it. So you have to see yourself a certain way, and that's with your mindset. It determines everything we do or don't do. If I didn't have the mindset that this is what I wanted to do and understand my why and my purpose, which we'll touch on, I wouldn't be here doing this right now. You wouldn't be here showing up for it. But to change your mindset requires intentional efforts. It's very much like going to the gym. You need to be intentional about changing your health, your fitness, etc., and you need to train it on a regular basis. The same applies with mindset. Interrupt me if you have any questions, otherwise we'll continue to move on. Awesome, thank you so much. So what is mindset? Well, we have to understand mindset, and we have to understand how we can influence mindset and how we can train it before we can do so and change it. So it's put forth, or they say, the quotation they, that there's a mindset performance loop. So our mindset affects our attitude, which then in turn affects our behavior. We take actions based on our behavior, achieve certain results, and there's a performance outcome associated with those results. We get a result. Is that result good or bad, right? So it affects our mindset, so it continually feeds in itself. So for example, today, I can look and say, oh, I'm not going to do very good. Nobody's going to pay attention. They're going to have their cameras off. They're not going to give me the thumbs up and hands up when I ask. They're not going to ask questions. Wow, I'm setting myself up for failure. And then that's probably the outcome that's going to happen. So next time I go to do a Zoom session, or I get invited to do a Zoom group call, I'll be hesitant because I have a negative mindset associated with the negative results and performance. Or I could say, you know what, even if people's cameras are off, as many of you have your cameras off, I know you're listening because you give me the odd thumbs up and you're engaged and you're finding it entertaining, and you're probably going to start to participate and ask questions and communicate, even though I understand some people might be shy about it. So again, that mindset performance loop creates our outcomes, and it can become self-fulfilling, self-fueling. So we really need to interject into this. It's the story we tell ourselves, and then we play out that role. Remember, life is a stage, and we're the actors in our own movie. But the key piece is the mind cannot change the mind. And this is something I had to learn because I kept intellectually trying to change my mind all the time, change my mindset, and it wasn't working. It was erratic, right? It wasn't consistent. And the reason being is you need to change or tap into the heart to change the mind. So there's many speakers out there that focus on this specifically, and they talk about the heart-mind connection. And it's true, there is a heart-mind connection. And there's something called Cranmer's anthropology. Feel free to look it up. But essentially, I've distilled it here for you. So what it says is that what the heart loves, so what your heart loves, what you love, your will chooses, your will to do something, and then your mind justifies it, right? So when Norm wanted to go door knocking, his heart, for some reason, said, I need to do more business for something. Something was making his heart beat to get up and go and knock on some doors. And that drove his will to go do it, even though he didn't feel like it, like many of us can relate to as realtors. And then his mind justified it afterwards. So he tapped into the Cranmer anthropology mindset performance loop of Money Mountain without even knowing it. But the key is to know what we do and how we achieve our outcomes so that we can do it consistently and repeatedly. Would that be fair to say? Would you agree? Thumbs up, voices, anything? You can leave your mic open if you're not going to have background noise. I don't mind. It's a conversation here.
Yeah, man.
Awesome. Thank you, Matthew. All right. So what is Money Mountain? So I love the mountain analogy. Okay. And I believe we all have mountains. We have mini mountains, we have big mountains, we have more than one mountain, right? Getting out of bed in the morning could have been a mountain today for me, a mini mountain, because honestly, I haven't done hard labor for a full day in a long time. And I was pretty sore and wanted to sleep in, to be honest with you. But I didn't. Yeah. And so I got up, right? So my mini mountain was getting up, getting out of bed, and showing up for you today. And again, congratulations to those of you who are joining us, showing up for yourselves, because not everybody's doing that. And if you won't invest in yourself, why should anybody else invest in you? Something to think about. So good on you for showing up. But we equate money with success, which is why at the GT Sales Academy, we've branded this Money Mountain, because money is a natural measure for us on so many things, including success. But I will argue that money by itself is worthless. And I've said this before and gotten quite a reaction from people. And it's interesting the varied reaction I get too. But one analogy I love to use, I'll share with you. So how much is this? Somebody can either say it, type it, something.
$100.
And what's it worth?
It's commodity. It's money. It's cash.
Okay. But I'll suggest that it's not worth $100 until I do something with it. Right now, it's just a piece of pseudo paper made out of plastic, and it's a fiat currency, right? It only becomes something when it translates into something. So I suggest that money in itself is worthless until it gets connected to something outside of itself and something greater than money in itself. I'll give you a perfect example. Okay. So I'm going to ask you all right now the same question I've asked so many audiences. How many of you would trade all your friends and family, everybody you know, for $30 million right now? 30 million, cold hard cash. Anybody? I'm looking for a show of hands here. Anybody? Anybody? No? Okay. Well, what about $300 million? Okay, I know some of you are lying because 300 million even tempts me. Either way, the key thing is, even if you are going to say yes to the $300 million, what if I told you there's nobody left in the world? Do you still want it? Exactly.
There's no purpose.
Exactly. People are greater than money. So you need to connect money to something outside of itself. People, a purpose. Exactly. So motivation greater than money. And to do that, we need to claim our mountain and be climbing the right mountain. The last thing you want to do is go halfway up the wrong mountain. So it's super important to climb the right mountain. So you need to climb with a Sherpa mindset. So Sherpa, for those of you that don't know what it is, I used to think that it was like just this place, whatever, and people that climb mountains. I found out in my research that it's actually a little town called Sherpa, and these people are just specialists at climbing mountains. So we want to become Sherpa mindset money mountain climbers, and that's a mouthful, I know. And I made it worse by saying that. Either way, hopefully you remember. So we're going to learn how to climb our money mountains like a Sherpa. Fair enough? Continue on. Anybody with thumbs up? I see nods. Awesome. Thank you so much. Okay, mindset motivation. So we need to motivate our mindset to be able to climb Money Mountain like a Sherpa. But the question is, how do we do it? Well, there's this old legend, Cherokee legend, I believe, where a grandfather was sitting with his grandson by the campfire one night, okay? And he said, grandson, I want to tell you a story about two wolves. Every human has two wolves in them, the good wolf and the bad wolf. And you can associate this to the devil and the angel on your shoulder, whatever have you. The point is, there's the good way, the bad way. There's good where it's love, peace, gratitude, support, community, helping, showing up to this call. Thank you. There's the bad way, which is jealousy, resentment, anger, hate, traffic rage, giving the finger, the rest of it, which we're all guilty of, I know. The thing is, which one are you feeding? Because whichever one you feed, it's going to be stronger that day than the other one. That's what the grandson or the grandfather told the grandson, is the stronger one is the one you feed, and that's what you need to focus on, grandson. So that's what we need to do. We need to feed the right mindset. We need to feed the good wolf in us, okay? And we do that through daily mental conditioning, okay? Training every day, consistently. And there's tools and rituals to do that. And that's what Money Mountain is a system that we're about to touch on. Sound good? Great, I'm seeing nods. So how do we climb Money Mountain? Well, it starts with passion, right? We have to find our passion. Our passion is our I can. We're not going to do things we aren't passionate about or hate doing or dislike. It's just not going to happen. I'll give you a perfect example. I am not a quitter. It's just not in me. However, I had this one job where I worked at the candy factory in Toronto, and we were making fuzzy peach slices. And I used to love those fuzzy peach slices so much. They were like an addiction of mine until I made them. Now I can't stand them, and the thought of them turns my stomach. Why? Because I was at the end of the production line, and there's this big turbine, kind of like a cement mixer thing that's mixing all the funny fuzzy peach slices and covering them in sugar, and there's crystallized powder sugar, and it's coming out at me. My job was to take some fuzzy peach slices, put them down, grab another tray, put some fuzzy peach slices, put them down. Monotonous, mind-numbing work. And then on top of that, when I go out on break, take my mask off because I had one of those N95 masks, I couldn't breathe because all the crystallized sugar was in my sinuses. Needless to say, it was the opposite of my passion, and I quit the job. So as much as we can persevere, we need to be connected to our passion to really set the foundation for climbing Money Mountain. Would everyone agree? And life is short. Why do what we don't love? Awesome. All right, thanks. Next, we have to persist. So we find our passion, but nothing good comes easy. I think you'd agree. So we have to persist through challenges. And that's the I will. I will overcome the challenges in pursuit of my passion. But the thing that will take us to the top is a purpose that capstones it all. And that becomes the I must. So it's not only I can, I will, which are all me things. I must is a other outside of me thing. And that's the capstone that will take us to the top of the mountain. And that's what we're going to look at now. So I invite you to take a piece of paper, okay? If I deliver this at our next production summit, then I will have printouts and such for all of you, okay? But I invite you to take an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper, and we're going to start climbing the mountain. And this is an exercise, so we actually have an output to this, okay? This is an exercise we're going to go through. And we're going to start with identifying our passion. And even if you feel connected to your passion, it doesn't hurt to revisit it and maybe fill it out a little bit more, maybe color in between the lines a little bit more. So what I'd like you to do is first think about putting the extra in ordinary, because that's how we get extraordinary, right? And we can only truly be extraordinary when we're connected to something we're passionate about, because we give it that extra. Now, to identify our passion, we're going to pick up what's called a passion point. So a point in time where we were connected with our passion, or where we had an aha moment and realized our passion. How can you identify this? Well, it's where you have a tingly feeling, almost like pins and needles, where you have such excitement. Like, think about, the night before Christmas or any other big event that you're really excited about, you couldn't sleep. It's that kind of energetic feeling. You're connected to passion. You're feeling with your heart and almost thinking with your heart before your mind. Super important. Or whatever you do that you lose track of time, where it's like nothing matters. Apparently, we check, as a human beings, we check our phones every 30 seconds on average, which is nuts when you average it out. But whatever it is that you do, that you forget about your phone, you forget about eating, you forget about coffee, and you're in the zone or the flow, that's probably you being in your passion point. Okay, so I want you to jot that down. And there's a reason for this, for writing it down. Not only the reinforcement, but for reference, for training consistently on a daily basis. So is everybody writing it down? And you can take a moment to think about it if you do. Awesome. Okay, I just got a thumbs up, several of them. So jot down your passion point. Next, I want you to take 7 words that you associate with this passion point. So for example, I feel really good after delivering a live session, and even a Zoom call session like this, when I know that I get great feedback, people are happy, they've gained benefit from it, they find value, I've touched people's lives, I've earned equity for the last day on earth, so to speak. That's what I get passionate about. So my 7 words would be like engaging, entertaining, educating, connecting, inspiring, evolving, elevating. So find your 7 words that you feel passionate about. It could be helping people find their next home, seeing that look on their faces, that one time where your clients, they found the home, and I've had it where the wife actually started to tear up and she's like, oh my God, I feel like I'm home. That's a passion point for me as well, because I touched their lives in a way they'll never forget. And so it matters to me, it's valuable. And that is what pushes up into the persistence. So I'd also like you to write down an I am statement. I am somebody that touches people's lives. I am somebody that helps people find the home of their dreams, whatever it is that resonates with you. And then you can write, I can overcome challenges such as a lower than market value appraisal or lower than purchase price appraisal. These are the things I can overcome. I can touch people's lives. I can help people in ways that they will never forget. Whatever it is for you, please jot it down. I'm going to pause for 10 seconds and let you do that. And then I want to see a bunch of thumbs up to get started again. All right, cool. Oh, there they are. All right, so we're getting our passion points. Awesome. So please hold on to this. Next, we're going to go to our persistence. So the persistence is the I will piece of it, right? So we have our passion, but then we have to persist, because pursuing our passions doesn't come easily. There's challenges. The road up Money Mountain, or the trail that we blaze up Money Mountain, it's not a straight line. It's a curvy road. And if it is a straight line, I'm suggesting that you're not pushing hard enough, because that's way too easy. Nothing is a straight line like that. So what we need to do is lean into these curves, right? I'll give you a great example. I used to race motorcycles, so I'm racetrack certified, etc. And so over in Shannonville, I remember the last race I was there, I was really pushing it. I was pushing hard because I had a passion for racing. I had a passion for motorcycles. I loved the feeling, like it was tingly. I lost track of time. I didn't want to eat. I didn't want to do anything other than race. But you come up to these curves at that high speed, charged with passion, it's not easy. There's a sharp turn. There's a lot of turns. And you have to lean into the turn when you're racing motorcycles. You have to, otherwise you're going to fly off the track. So the key thing is, this is how we lean into the curves, by being connected with our persistence before. I've taken those curves so many times that I didn't hesitate to lean into them, because it was familiar territory, climbing my mountain, my money mountain of motorcycle racing, for example. So you got to push the resistance, because even when you're racing, the handlebars resist you. They don't want you to lean into the turn. So you really have to push and build that muscle, that mind-muscle connection, that mindset connection, and train that mindset to keep persisting. And the best way to do it is to remember a time when you persisted before, because that is emotionally charged. Just like, for those of you that like NLP and priming and things like that, That's the moment. That's what you need. That persistent point where you push through, because you'll remember that. Or when I go to get on stage, I'll be honest with you, I feel nervous. Anybody who says they don't is probably lying. But all I need to do is remember the last time I persisted through the fear, through the concern, through the self-doubt, and persisted in pursuit of my passion to achieve a purpose. So I want you to write down that one persistence point, the one that really sticks out with you in what you do, that you can remind yourself of on a daily basis, which we'll talk about later. But every time you hit this point where you're feeling the resistance, and you can push back because you remember, I did it before and I'll do it again. So please take a moment and write down that persistence point. It was a Gixxer 750, but I rented their bike on the track. Okay, I see thumbs up. So next, I want you to write down just one thing. You only need to do one thing to help you train that persistence point, okay? So for example, myself, and we're human, okay? I don't do it every day necessarily, but it's what you do repeatedly on a consistent basis that forms your life. I would write down a journal. So the night before I would look, or sorry, at the end of the day, like today, I'll write down things that I persisted through and the success I realized and what came from it. And that's going to reinforce me to do the right things again to climb my money mountain. So tonight, I'm going to look back on today and say, wow, what a great session. What a great group coaching call session on Zoom. Everybody loved it. They were engaged. They got great value. They gave me thumbs up. George, persist through the fear. Persist through the challenges of life and keep touching your passion and achieving your purpose. So I want you to write down just one thing you're going to do, whether it's journaling at the end of every day, and then you can reflect on it the next morning to set you up for persistence that day too. Whatever it may be, write down one thing, just one thing you're going to do, but make sure you're going to do it. And now I want you to write down another I will statement. I am somebody who persists. I am somebody who shows up for myself and others. I am somebody who will deliver value every time somebody gives me a stage to do so on, whether it's Zoom or live. I will engage in every opportunity. I will persist through any fear or self-doubt. I will persist through the challenges of developing content for people that they find valuable. Whatever a statement might be, or to put in a real estate context, I will persist despite how many people hang up on me. I will persist on cold calling and prospect calling because I know that somebody out there is going to benefit from my services, and that's my passion. Whatever it is, write down your I will statement. And for those of you that haven't noticed the quotes, maybe you're on your phone. I love this one. Ambition is the path to success. Persistence is the vehicle you arrive in. Thought-provoking, to me at least. So we're going to move on. Now we're reaching the capstone, okay? The purpose. How important is this purpose? I mean, I would hope that so far you've found just the passion and persistence, the I can, the I will, to be so powerful that you are already seeing how you're going to climb higher in your money mountain, or on your money mountain, how you're going to be more of a Sherpa in your mindset as how you try to achieve the peak of success, whatever that money mountain is for you. But I'm going to share a story. Now, this story is not going to be about me. It's going to be about somebody that probably all of you know. Mike Tyson and Buster Douglas. Does everybody know those names? Anybody? Just anybody put a hand up or a thumbs up. Awesome. Whoa, lots. Awesome. All right, good. So Mike Tyson, absolute killer. That guy was a scary guy. I remember watching him fight back in the day. And, you know, it doesn't matter how many martial arts I've done or whatever I've done in my life. He was a scary dude. I would not want to see him in a dark alley or be put in a ring with him. Nobody really wanted to fight the guy anymore. I mean, what was his record? 49 knockouts or something? I don't even remember. Point is, somehow Buster Douglas stepped up to fight him. Buster Douglas was not as well known, or relatively unknown, maybe I could even say, even though he'd been in the fight business for a long time, or the boxing business. Reason being is his father was a boxer and had a boxing gym. So he introduced Buster Douglas into boxing at a young age, and he developed a passion for it. So he had a passion for boxing, and I think his record was 29-4-1, something like that. So he persisted. He took a lot of hits in pursuit of his passion and in living his passion. He took a lot of hits, but he never achieved greatness. Never. Despite his father being a boxer, despite growing up in it, despite being trained by his dad, who was also a very successful boxer, he never achieved the peak, his money mountain in boxing, until he got connected to his purpose. What is that purpose? Well, he was saying, I'm going to knock Mike Tyson out. I'm going to knock Mike Tyson out. And his mom was a huge supporter of his. And, you know, some of you out there may be really connected to your moms like I am. And I can understand that. His mom was a big supporter and coach of his in a way, like emotional coach. But then his mom died 2 days before his fight. 2 days before. Can you imagine? Buster Douglas didn't postpone. He didn't fold up. He didn't fall back down his money mountain. Instead, he basically said, I'm going to do this for mama. Okay. And I don't know if he said mama, but the point is, it's like mama said, knock you out. He's like, I'm going to knock out Tyson for mama. And wow, did that give him purpose? We know what happened. He knocked out Tyson. He did the unthinkable, but he needed that connection to his purpose. So that's what I want us to do today, is put that capstone of purpose on what we've been working on. I know this is a quick session and hopefully I get to deliver it at the summit, but let's work through it as best we can right now and then build on it going forward. Okay. So the main thing to do is first identify that you're a person of value and what you do matters and why it matters to you. So you need to think about, what it is that you're looking to do that makes you a person of value and the one name you associate with that. So again, on your 8.5 by 11, I hope you're jotting these things down. The purpose point, okay, again, like your passion point, would be a point in time where you were emotionally moved, charged, and you felt something because you helped somebody and it made you feel something greater than yourself or outside of yourself, which is so important because I'll tell you right now, if you're only doing things for yourself or for the money or for the Ferrari or whatever other things I've said for myself in the past, when things get really tough, you turn on yourself to a certain degree. Maybe some of you are blessed and you haven't had that, but I myself know that sometimes your own worst enemy can be yourself. And the only way you're going to push past that is if you put something outside of yourself that you're shooting for so that you get out of your own way. I hope that makes sense. So think about a point where you achieved a purpose and you touched somebody's life. So for me, in a real estate context, there's a family I helped relocate in Brantford. They had a second generation family farm we sold, and then they bought a house in Brantford. And they never thought they'd find a house, but they had to make the move for the kids, etc. And when we went in that house, like his wife cried. She cried and she hugged me. And she's like, I never thought it would happen. And like, I'm almost getting emotional just thinking about it. So that's a purpose point for me. And that's why I do real estate. Okay. Or when I get frustrated, I think about that. I'm like, you know what? There's another life out there. And that person makes all those hangups, all those ghosted prospects, all worthwhile because I don't care about them. I care about that person that's going to tear up because I touched their lives. So you need to find your purpose point that's going to push you through the tough times. Okay. Connect to that purpose. And then associated with that, I want you to put just one name down. So I can put down the name of that individual and that purpose point, and I can reference that. And I'd like you to be able to do the same, because that's how you're going to get up and knock on the doors, make the prospect calls, go through the hard times, deal with the bad valuations on the appraisal, etc. All right, awesome.
Awesome, man. It's been fantastic and very informative. Love this, George.
Thank you, Matthew. Thank you. So I hope we're writing down our purpose points, that point in time, that memory, that just one name. And speaking of that, you can also set a target name, by the way. So you might decide the next client you're going to help. Okay. And if you don't have that name yet, that's a blank line that you can put that name. And that's what you're shooting for as you're climbing your money mountain. Who's the next Kathy or whoever I'm going to help achieve that moment where I've touched their lives and helped them move to their new home, which is arguably one of the most important things there is in the world, right? Home and family. And now that you have that, I want you to write down your why. So remember at the beginning, we talked about why you get out of bed. Why do you do what you do? Why do you push through? Why? This is my why. My why is that I touch lives through real estate and I climb my money mountain and do well financially as a byproduct. And as you're doing that, to wrap it up, you write your I am. So again, I am a person of purpose. I am a person that helps people find the homes of their dreams. I'm the person that helps them find multi-door investments to create generational wealth. I am. And I must, because this is my purpose. I must because people rely on me. I must, and you can connect it to something else. I must because my kids need me to show up for them. My, disabled sister. I have clients where he takes care of his disabled sister. His parents passed away, and that's his I must. And that's what drives him. And I respect that. Right. So you need to find your I must and your purpose. All right. Next. So what we've done on the 8.5 by 11 is basically from the top down. It's kind of funny, top down. We've done training and created a roadmap to climb our money mountain, right? We connected with our passion point. We have 7 words that energize us about that passion point. We have our persistence point, which is a point in time that we persisted and we remember that. That's going to help us by doing that just one thing, to keep persisting, to keep reminding ourselves of how to persist, how to achieve, how to climb that money mountain. We remember our purpose point. So that point in time where we truly felt connected with our purpose, where we did what it is that makes us feel alive, makes us feel tingly, makes us feel like the day before a big event where you're so filled with passion and excitement and persist and you have your purpose. And then we have a name associated with that. That's a trigger, if you will, just like NLP triggering, or a name that we will create, or a name that we're helping right now. And that all comes together for your why. And so ideally, you would review this on a daily basis, ideally in the morning. If you get really enthusiastic about it, you can do it morning and night. So it's like capping off your day and starting your day. Or at a minimum, do it once a week. And I'll tell you why. Here's a great example, okay, I like to think of. So I'm sure some of you have been on an extended vacation, let's say 2-3 weeks, whether you left the country and you were on a cruise or something, and you didn't drive during that time. Now, some of you rent cars, you're more adventurous. I can even name some of you in the group, but I don't do that, to be honest with you. I don't want to rent a car. I don't do any of that stuff. When I'm on vacation, I'm a little lazy, let's say. So when I find when I get back, and I get in my car at Pearson from long-term parking and I start driving, I'm like, whoa, this feels weird. I don't know if any of you can relate to that experience, but it's like I lost my connection with driving because it had been such an extended period of time since I put those skills into practice. The same applies here. At a minimum, you got to do this at least once a week. And you can update this too, so it can be a living, breathing document. Now, hopefully you've written it all down. And again, you'll have another opportunity to be exposed to this. But this is something that you do training. It's just like going to the gym. So mindset is a muscle. And climbing Money Mountain and becoming a Sherpa and doing so is a muscle you train, just like going to the gym. If I don't go to the gym for 3 weeks, I won't look the same way I do right now. I need to go consistently. Same thing applies here. Then there's also better questions for a better life. So how you frame your questions, right, are super important. So how can I connect this difficulty to me achieving my purpose by persisting through? So you always have to frame things. Framing is very powerful in how you frame your questions to achieve a better life and climb your money mountain. And by doing this, you're going to win the day. You win the day by starting the day right and ending the day right with these better questions for a better life. So takeaways. The trifecta starts with the mind. The trifecta, for those of you that joined us late, are the cornerstone philosophy of the GT Sales Academy, in that there's a perfect trifecta between your mind, which is the foundation, your skills training, and systems development. So we have systems, in our brokerage and with our tools that we have, systems that we can use. We have various opportunities to train our skills, which we do through our group coaching calls and whatever else we do. And also, we need to have our mindset right to make best use of those other 2 things. So that's the trifecta. So, kudos to you for showing up today. Mindset is very important, and hopefully you found great value in it today, because it's how we see the world and how we operate within it. We create our own movie, and the mindset is the script. Let's be the authors of our script and editors, and focus on the subconscious, because remember, again, the mind cannot change the mind. Logic cannot change logic. Only emotion can change the logic. So it starts with the heart, Cranmer's anthropology. What the heart wants, the will chooses, and the mind justifies. So train your mindset muscle and feed the right wolf to achieve the peak of your money mountain. Thank you, everybody. And we have 12 minutes left for questions, if any. You're all just speechless, I know. Okay. Hopefully you're speechless and not sleeping.
No, not at all. No, hey, but
No,
just
no, not
to,
at all.
I'll jump on video too here if that's okay. Thanks very much, man. It was like tons of really great information. One thing I did want to ask that's sort of partial to like part of this and also part of something else is just in terms of your team and team building and stuff like that. How did you find, what's the most challenging part and who was the first hire that you had? Did you sort of find a buyer's agent or was that part of your MO for your team? And like how did that all kind of come about? Or maybe you could just sort of just chat about that briefly.
Super interesting question. So, not something I could have thought about ahead of time. So this is going to be a candid
Yeah,
response.
sorry, man. I know I'm putting you on the spot. I apologize. It's kind of what we
No,
do.
no, don't. No, because that's what helps people grow, right? It's like going to the gym again. If you keep doing the same weight, same routine, nothing's going to change. So you need that shock of something novel. So I do appreciate it, and I can answer it quite easily. I didn't have any kind of strategy like that, and I'm just going to talk about the people that have joined EXP with me, as opposed to talking about a team, if that's fair enough.
Sure.
So the first person that joined was Rob, actually. So we'd worked together before at RLP. And, I mean, it was a natural thing that he'd be one of the first people to know about my move from Royal LePage to EXP. But also, I think from a bigger perspective, I never looked at, am I attracting agents that are 3 years in the business or brand new agents or whatever have you. So if I look at my agent attraction activities, it's very what's the right word? Synergistic in the sense that I don't actually do prospecting in that sense. It's more about as I do real estate business, I meet people. If those people seem like they'd be a good fit for the group, that I actually would take a call from them and not be frustrated at, let's say, 9 o'clock at night, and I'm happy to help them, then that's the kind of person I want to attract and work with. So I've actually had early on people that approached me and they almost gave me their list of demands. Okay, if I come to EXP, I want you to come on 3 calls with me. I want you once a week to teach me this and all these stipulations. I'm like, okay, I like that you're organized, but your attitude is all wrong. We're not a good fit. So I think the most important thing is as you're building a team or you're building a group in EXP or trying to build out your downline, if you want to call it that, make sure your mindsets are aligned. Make sure that you have some kind of synergy in terms of your character, your beliefs, your mindset, etc. And then there'll be great synergy and cohesion amongst the group members. And then when you do want to hold events or things like that, they actually enjoy being with each other. For what it's worth, hopefully I answered your question. I know I kind of went on a bit of a tangent, but I think I answered it indirectly.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And I mean, we can always speak a little more, privately or personally about any sort of other like team building type of thing. But yeah, man, that totally answers the question. I appreciate that. That's
Awesome.
kind of the whole thing, right? Is that you have to like duplicate yourself or find that duplication, like find yourself in that somebody else who then naturally sort of wants to come on board. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I mean,
That's,
in one of
that's
my other activities, I have a consulting company and I help with some recruitment and selection activities. And the most important thing is you can train skills, but you can't train character. So hire character and train the skills. So hire the right character and then determine if that person's a buyer agent or a seller agent or whatever way you want them to fit into your team. If you're talking about a traditional brand team now, but even if they're the best in the world, you're going to end up firing them if they have the wrong attitude. And I've actually fired many people in my companies that were top performers, top salespeople, but they created discord within the group, and so I couldn't allow it. They were a bad apple that was going to, rot the barrel or whatever the expression is. So
yeah. Makes sense.
100%.
That's cool. Thanks, George. Like really empowering and a lot of really great information. Really, really do appreciate the time that you spent to be able to do this. So thanks.
Well, thank you, Matthew. I appreciate you saying that, because I'm basically sharing what I've experienced. Like I'm putting my life out there right now. That's how this came to be, is because I went through that craziness for way too many years.
Well, isn't it always the way, right? Like, and that becomes the story and some of the best experience to be able to pass on. So again, really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you. Anybody else? We have 8 minutes left if you'd like. I
George,
know.
it was a very good session. Like, I took a lot of notes, and yeah, as you said, like, money is itself is worthless unless we put into action. So that's absolutely right. Like, we learn a lot of good stuff. We don't put it into action, it's worthless. So that's a good takeaway today from this session. And of course, I've taken a lot of notes, and it will be great help for our business as a team, as an individual, and also for my team. It will be a great help, like that I can convey these good values to them, so that everybody is successful and energized and be more productive. Thank you so much for this today.
Awesome. Thank you for giving me the opportunity and for listening. Appreciate that, Anthony.